All right, looks like I've got people joining in now, so that is great. When you join in, today we're really just joining in as a guest. When you have your kids log in, you probably want them logged in so they can come back in to this activity later and finish up what they were working on. So let's roll, and if anybody still has problems getting in, just let Beth know inside the chat window. All right, so we're going to look at today Notebook and SLSO and how they go together. So today we're going to start with the SLSO, and then I'm going to backtrack and show you how I created it inside of Notebook. So let's get started. My name is Terry Politi. You've already heard that. This is my 33rd year in education. I have done a lot, seen a lot, but one of the things I really like is using some of the SLSO tools because there's a lot of different ones inside of here. So our objective today is really we want to figure out how to build it in Notebook and then deliver it in SLSO. So you're going to see the whole process. It'll just be a little bit backwards because I want you to feel it like a student first, and then you'll think of it like a teacher. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is start what's called a shout it out. So on your student screen that you're looking at right now, you can't do anything. I'm about to start this for the class, but you might want to know the question ahead of time. So what I'm going to ask you is, how would you use a Venn diagram with your content area? What types of things can you sort by Venn diagram? So I'm going to click start. On your side, you're going to see a big white box. And inside of there, I'd like you just to put one suggestion and then hit submit. And then if you want to put another one, go for it. You can hit another one. Great. I see somebody put fact or fiction. Compare and contrast. Great job. Comparing text, comparing stories. Sorting ideas. Great. So you put your thought process in the box and then just hit submit, and it will automatically send it to me.
You have a lot of great ideas coming through.
There are. I really like the comparing technologies because I have worked with so many teachers in the last 4 weeks as we've opened up school that keep asking me about different technologies and different things. And there is not one right tool. What I try to process is, what are you trying to do? What strategy, which objective are you trying to do? The tool is the last piece you pick. Let's make sure we have all the other pieces first. But I really like that comparing technology. Now, if you're taking a look at my screen, it's pretty small. But if I click on any one of these, it will enlarge it so that you can see it. And I can then also scroll through them. Comparing characters, distinguishing characteristics, categorizing numbers. Ooh, somebody knows that I was a math teacher. I really like that one, Beth. Oh, there is definitely a science teacher somewhere in here. Wow, that's a good idea. Fact or fiction. Compare and contrast, great ideas. Now, what I can also do on my side, just so that you're aware, is I can also sort these. So I can also put what I think might be more social studies, ELA kind of content over here. Sorting ideas might go either way. Fact or fiction can kind of, but like these are all number ones over here. Technology, I'm going to put it on the number side, but it could probably go in the middle too. So I can also sort some of these things as we're trying to get some ideas. Okay, so you have these ideas in mind right now. I'm going to show you a Venn diagram that already has some content in it, but realize that you could put your own content in here of what you just suggested right now. All right, so the next slide we're going to go to is my Venn diagram, and I'm going to ask you to sort these words, whether they're verbs, nouns, or could they be both. So right now on your student screen, you can't do anything, okay? I can because I am the teacher. But what I'm going to do right now is to put you into small group workspaces so that you can work in groups. Now, I'm not going to take the time to put you in breakout rooms, but I could put you in breakout rooms and you could be working on the same Venn diagram with the same people in your group. But what I'm going to do on the fly right now is just switch you into collaborative workspaces. And I have 15, so I'm going to put you into 4 groups. And now I can resort these if I need to. So I can put some people, if I know they don't get along or they work better, or if I have my special educator logged in, I can put them with the special ed students so they can be helping them along also. So you have some different ideas there. And then I'm going to start the workspace. So on your side right now, you are going to sort those words into verbs, nouns, or both. Okay, and you're working together with your collective team. I'm going to try not to talk, but I'm going to pop into every group so that I can see how you're all doing. I see group 1 is off to the run and the surprise and the saw. Group 2 is off to a run in time also. Oh, bench made it in there. Team 3 is fast. That's all I've got to say. Holy cow. And team 4, you're looking pretty good with your bench, but you're making it there. That's great.
Yeah, really quickly to hop between groups.
Yeah. All right. Now for those people that are done, can you think of another word that would go into one of these categories? I would like you to grab the A tool on the left-hand side. You have one that's shaped like an A. When you click on it, it will turn blue. Then click somewhere in the box. Type your word. Then if you click outside, you can drag it into the right spot. If you click once on it, you can also enlarge it a little bit if you just want to drag the corner, or you can highlight and add more. Oh, somebody even turned it colors. Love that. Okay. What I do want you to do is take note of a new word that somebody put in there. Click once on it, and there's a drop-down box right next to it on the top right-hand corner. You'll notice who put it in. So in the screen that I happen to have, Casey put in jump. Great job, Casey. Okay, so now we can see who actually adds the other stuff also. I can't see who moved the other ones there because I put them all on the board. But if you add extras, I can see who put them there. So we give that note of who put stuff there. So that's kind of important to me. So now you can see how you can easily get kids to sort stuff, whether you have the sort ahead of time or whether you're asking them to fill stuff in. So you can do either one. I could also fill in pictures. So I'm going to do one more thing. I want you to click on the one that looks like a mountain. In there, you can do a safe search for Bing Safe Search. Type in a verb, noun, or both. And then put a picture somewhere in and make sure it's small enough so we can still see the words. So you're trying to put in a picture. You're grabbing the mountain on the left-hand side. I see somebody, oh, I see team 2. Somebody's doing it. Great job. And then you're just going to shrink it by using the circle in the bottom right-hand corner. Ooh, a fly. I like that one in team 3. So if you haven't seen what I am seeing on my screen after you put in a picture, oh, somebody did some little coloring over here on team 4. I like that. Ooh, I like the jumping on the trampoline. That's a great one. All right. So me as the teacher, I can see every single one of these, and I can also leave comments on these if I want to. So you should have all seen that I went through and put a check mark just so you could see that I could write on it. But I can also leave, like for team 4, whoever put the trampoline, I put the word great right above it. So I can leave them comments. I can even leave a box where I type in stuff so we can talk back and forth and they can keep moving them. And if I disagreed with one of theirs, I could also give them some hints, like circle the word, hey, look at this one again. So they could have some group discussions kind of back and forth. Ooh, and somebody added something extra to mine. Great job. So if you're looking on my screen, to team 4, you won't be able to see all the teams. You'll only be able to see yours. Teacher can see them all. I now see that I added the word great, and then Jen added more to it. So it's not only the attributions of who added the first time, but who also added more stuff or changed it. So you can keep giving credit where credit is due. All right, so just so you can see my side for a minute, if I take a look here, this is what I see as the teacher. I get to see all my groups, and I can hop into any single one of them, and then I can scroll through them and leave comments or do everything. I have the same tools that everybody else does, back and forth. Okay, we're running this lesson live, but I could now then also give give you the share link, and kids could continue working on this later in the groups that they're already in. All right, so now you've got the idea of some things you can do with the Venn diagram. So now I did some whole group, and some smaller groups so they can kind of work together. Now I'm going to do a little bit more testing to see if my kids understand where things should go. Is it a verb, noun, or both? So I'm going to go back to, oh no, I did forget an important part. People always ask me this. Sorry, I forgot about this one. People always ask me, how do you grade those things? And it's more of a simple, just formative check for me. But here is a very simple grading rubric that you can use when they're in that small group workspace. So I'm looking to see if it was meaningful. Were they listening, and were they actually then being supportive and finding evidence kind of things? So for me, when I'm grading these, it's just like a checkbox that I check off each kid's name as I'm popping in and out. And if I can't tell if somebody did it, that's where I go back to that attribution and see if they were adding some of those other components as we were going along. All right, but now I want to check to see if you've got verb, noun, or both. All right, so I'm going to start for the class. Now this is a shout it out, just like you already did, but there's a drop down box now below the part where you type it in. So you're going to type in a word, and then you're going to choose whether that word is a noun, it's both, or a verb, and then you're going to submit it to me. First one out of the gate is a dog, and they have it in nouns column. Way to go. Good job. Ooh, I like the word drink in both. You might not be able to see that, Beth, but that's good. Me coming from a high school teacher, a high school math teacher, I like to see what people are thinking because my thought process doesn't always go the same. We've got girl, dog, horses, test, try, run. Run is, oh, now we've got an issue here, Beth. I've got run here, and I got run here. So I have run.
So what about some of these that are contested?
So what would I do with run? Is run just a verb, or is it both? Is it a noun too? If I want to go for a run?
I'm going to say both. I'm thinking we should, just stick with the one that's in both.
Okay, so I have two choices for this one then. I can move it into another category. I have the option to be able to move it now. Or if they had extras, I could also just move it up here to the trash can and get rid of it. But I'm going to leave it in here because it was both. Now, it's small for you all. A couple things you can do. One, again, you can click on the center tile and you can start highlighting everything. The other thing I've gotten better at is we started to use some distance learning or some asynchronous, synchronous time is I use my zoom in feature. And so I can zoom in. I'm better off if I zoom in before this starts because then everything will fit. But you can also then see a little bit easier some of those things when I zoom in, okay? So if you think about on a PC or a Mac, which keys you're hitting to zoom in on your web, on any web page, then you'll be able to zoom in the same way here, okay? But those are great. So now I'm getting ideas of who's got the idea of what a verb, noun, or both is. Now, you notice on the top of any one of these, I'll hit this one right here. These are the first 3 letters of their name. I'm a high school teacher. I always want to know who's saying what. I don't want it to be anonymous, so I leave these on. But in the back end, when I show you how to build these, you can turn that off if you don't want to. But for me, it's also a good way to go back when I'm grading and saying, okay, she has one here. If I ask them to put one in each spot, there's not one in here for both. So they may all know the difference between them, but don't know a word that's the same. Okay, so those are just some things to kind of take a look at. And this is a shout it out, but it's categorized. So all the different categories here, you can categorize and let them, I've seen a lot of really good like pros and cons categories. Was as we read something, was it a pro, was it a con? And they're trying to lay it out. So those are other good things that you can categorize. All right, so now I've tested, okay, in my head, I think they got it. Now I'm ready to actually test them. So the test is going to be a handout, which means each individual person is going to give me their own handout. So what you're going to do on this handout is you're going to pull the word noun and decide whether this attack or this attack is the noun. Then pull the verb and decide whether it's a verb. And then the same thing for block. So you're going to These are infinitely cloned, so it's an infinite number of them, but if I pull it right now, then it'll be on all of your pages. I don't want to do that. But you'll pull down and put it exactly where it would be. Is it a noun or is it a verb? Same thing here, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is make this a handout. So you'll have to click Start, and then you'll each get your own copy. But the other thing I'm going to do before I do that is, because I have 3 pages that I want you to do, is I'm going to turn it into student pacing. So for student pacing here, it's going to go to student pacing. You should get a pop-up on your side telling me it's going to student pacing. And you will also have the white arrows on the bottom left-hand side. So now you'll be able to do page 8, which is the one you're on, 9, and 10. And if you need help with nouns or verbs, you can also look at the videos on 11 or 12. Okay? So I'm going to make this a handout right now. I'm going to ask you each to do the first one. So click on Start, and I see Ruby, you're right up on there. Way to go, Ruby. Joan, Jen, I can see you clicked on Start because it's showing me on my side what we saw. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just do this first page. Just pull them down so that you get the idea of what it can do. And then I'll show you what it looks like on my side, and then we'll show you how to build.
Yeah, so we're able to work on our own copy and have our own practice page or assessment here. And not like the other one where we were sharing on the Venn, now we each have our own.
Yep. So you have the workspace, which can be whole group or small groups. And then you have the handout, which is individual copies for everybody. So that was a great job, Austin. Caroline, I see you're working right along. Great job. Christy, great job. All right, I'm not going to make it through everybody's because I see we're also looking at the time. And you'll also notice if you got to page 9 and 10 that I made it a little bit more challenging there, where you had to add a sentence, or I started the sentence and then you had to add a little bit more and then you put verbs or nouns. So you get the idea. So I'm going to bring you back to teacher pacing just so that you come back into my page and be able to see it. And because it's back in teacher pacing, it's automatically going to throw you on the page that I'm in. And then I also want to show you, if you will come back over to look to see what I see. So as the teacher for a handout, I see every single person's paper here. And some of them even put the check marks, which is awesome. And so what the check mark means, if I go into Austin's paper, on his paper, he has the word done up here where I have arrows. So he can hit done when he knows I'm ready to grade it. However, the great part for me is I don't have to wait till it says done. Oh, great job, Austin. I don't have to wait till it says done. I can actually look in as they're doing the work and seeing some of those other things. So that's an infinite cloner. All right. That's a great job, guys. So now I'm individually checking everybody. Did they get the idea of today's lesson? So we did some whole group, some small group, and then some individual things to see what we got. All right. We are going to, I'm looking at the time here. Want to make sure I finish. Oops, sorry, guys. I did put in some videos that I would have, whoa, there we go, that I would have left in there for the kids. So if they were having trouble still, they could go down to see them. So you saw how the student pacing could be. And I'm going to end with response now. All right, so I gave you all some feedback on your handouts. Now I'm going to check to see if you know, truly know. This is our assessment piece here. So I am going to start the response right now. I am going to ask you to take, I think it's just 2 questions. I'm going to ask you to take those questions right now. So on your screen, you should be seeing the response questions come up, and great, I see people answering them. And just to move on to the next question, you can go to the right on the top. I might talk a little bit with my hands if you're not watching me on the top. Great, I see that we're getting somewhere. People are answering them. Up there is 3 questions inside of here. The first one is talking about, is it a noun, verb, or both? Oh, which sentence uses work as a noun? Ooh, like those. All right, we've got about 93% of the students have finished answering. Just make sure you hit submit when you're done. All right, I think we're going to get to where we're going to get to. So if you'll come back onto my screen, I want to just show you this one piece of information. So I can actually see the results coming in live if I wanted to and showed you that, but I really wouldn't want you to do that because I'd want you to be answering on your own, but I could see them if I wanted to, especially if I wasn't sharing the screen, then I could have some idea. My favorite thing in here though is when I end the activity, I can then export those results into a spreadsheet, and then I can take that spreadsheet and analyze it later and actually give them assessment grade for inside of there. And you'll also notice as we look at this that I get the answers right here. So the answer for this one, since it was green, was both. So I have 2 people. I just need to go look on that spreadsheet. That spreadsheet will also tell me if the question, I start questioning if less than 75% don't get it right. Like, so if I have more than 75% in the bad, or not, I said it the wrong way. If I have more than 25%, I really want to start looking at the question to see if the question is a bad question. But I can take a look at all the results as we come in. And I do like the word cloud so I can see if somebody used it more than once or twice. So think about a whole lesson here, and then I'm going to show you how I put it together. Beth, are there any questions while I switch my screen here?
Nope, I was just pointing out that you were showing us your teacher view of how to review the data, but as students, we can actually see the ones we got correct and incorrect, and we have a little arrow here to move through the different questions, and it shows us, you know, which ones we got incorrect.
Yes, sorry, forgot all about the student side. It went all right to the teacher side for me. All right, I'm going to show you how I built some of these pages so that you get the idea how to build these pages. And then hopefully you'll have some time to build on your own. So the first one I want to just show you is how I build a shout it out. So as we take a look at the shout it out here, these are already some pre-made things that I can use very easily. So I'm going to start with adding a page because I want to start with a clean page. I don't want to put it on top of the one that I have there. And then I have up here what looks like a little monster. I'm going to add it and go for the shout it out. Can you see this on my screen, Beth? Can you see the content categories? Okay, perfect. I didn't know if pop-outs were showing. All right, so I can randomize or categorize. You remember the first one where I asked you how would you use a Venn diagram? That was just randomized. There's no pull down. Or the second one where I asked you whether it was a noun, a verb, or both. And then over here, I have a couple of choices. I can say how many different answers they can give me. So on this one, I'm probably going to pick 4. So they could put one of a noun, a verb, and both, and then they could do a goof. If they messed up one, they get an extra one. So I'm going to pick 4.
That's a good point to give them more chances.
It is. It is. I've done it a few too many times, and I give them 1 chance, and then they goof. So I need to make sure that I don't have to reset them. All right. Then remember, I also showed you where you see the first 3 letters of their name. That's where this show is. And for me, secondary, I'm always showing because I want them responsible for whatever they send. I'm sure there's some good times to hide what you're doing, but just realize that that toggle is there. The other thing that I only did the shout outs right now with text, but you could use images. So I've seen interesting ones where people have read poetry, and then everybody goes and finds an imagery or an image of what the poetry means to them. And then they send the images, and then we kind of look at the collage of images. It's really a cool experiment to see them. Then I hit finish, and it's set up for me. So now the shout it out is ready to go. The only thing I do is launch it on the other end. All right. So that's how you build the shout it out. Now the Venn diagram took a little bit more timing as I start thinking about it. So I need to build the Venn diagram. I need to add verbs and nouns. And then all of this stuff, if you realized it, is locked. There's no way to move it. These down here are movable, but I locked them so that the kids couldn't resize them because I found sometimes when I put stuff that's there, they'll take up the whole page. So you have different options here, but I'm going to show you how to build this one next. So the first thing I need to do is put a Venn diagram. Now I certainly could draw circles and do all that. However, I happen to know inside the gallery that you can search for different things. And let's find a Venn diagram that's already there. Oh, there it is. There's one right there. And I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty small, but there's a dog ear in the top right-hand corner. That means it is a page, so it's actually going to add a whole page, a new page when I put that in. Whereas if I found one inside of pictures, I might just have been able to pull the pink one and the purple one into the pages that I was dealing with. All right, so there's my Venn diagram. Didn't have to work too hard on that one. And it's a page, it's already there, so I don't have to move that one. So the next thing I need is text. I need nouns and verbs. So I'm going to grab my text tool up here. I'm going to type in noun. Now, I am a little bit crazy sometimes. I like everything to be the exact same size. So usually what I do is I end up just cloning it. And then I know it's the exact same size. And I don't know if you can see those little gray bars running across my screen, Beth.
Yeah.
Now I know they're lined up, but those things to drive me crazy too. All right, now I'm going to put in verb. Only if I spell verb right. Now, the only problem I have right now is they both move. So I want to click on them and I want to lock them in place. So any item has a drop-down menu top right, and it gives you all the options you have for that. So I'm going to lock that one in place. I'm going to lock this one in place. And now those can't move. So those are already there for my whole thing. And the next thing I need is just some words. So I'm going to grab it again. I'm going to type in run. And if that is the size, shape, font, color I want, then I'm good. Now I cheat a lot. So I am just going to keep cloning it or duplicating it, depending on which way you look. So I have a whole bunch of runs. And then I'll come back in here and change the run to whatever word I want. All right, and then I just keep changing as many words as I want to. Now I could also put pictures here. They don't have to be words, remember. Could easily put pictures here. And what I'm going to do now is, because that resizing that I talked about, I don't want the kids to be able to do this. So I come up and click that again, lock, and allow to move. So now when a kid grabs run, they can move it, but they can't resize it. Okay, that was a click. Might be helpful if I spelled it right though first, huh? All right, click, drop down, go to the lock, and then allow to move. Some of the other reasons I might use that would be like a ruler or something else that I wanted them to measure something and that I didn't want it to change. So when every kid measured it, they didn't get a different measurement. It all was the same. So they could move it, get it close to the item, but not change it. All right, so that's how I built the Venn diagram. That was pretty easy.
Super easy.
And then let's take a look at something a little bit different here. All right, so how did I build these? So they're words, and then these are infinite cloners, okay? So I'm gonna hit the plus sign, get a new page. You all know at this point in time how to put in words. Okay, you know how to use the text tool, you're good. If you don't want them to move it, same thing, you move it to where you want it, lock it in place. All right, now I needed an arrow. So let's grab the arrow tool. So you have some shapes up here. Oh, there's an arrow right there. I'm going to draw the arrow. It's not going the right direction, but I can fix that in a minute. All right, and then I'm going to hit, I want to color this in. So I'm going to say that this is my red one. So whenever you click on a shape, you'll notice I'm not clicked on the arrow right now. When I click on the shape, it gives me what things I can do to that shape. So I'm going to spin it first of all so it goes the other direction. And then I want to put in the word noun. Now that's probably going to be too big, but I'll be able to change that once I get it over here. Oh, it's definitely too big. So let me make it a little bit smaller so it fits in there. All right. So there is one. However, it's not one whole piece yet. So I am going to drag around it, and you notice now I've grabbed the arrow and I've grabbed the word noun. So I am going to group them And there's my noun. Now that's only one noun, but before I make it an infinite cloner, I'm going to duplicate it. Remember from the drop down, you can do clone. And now I'm going to ungroup this so that I have the two pieces again, but that way they're the same size and I don't have to rebuild it. I'm going to click once on it and I'm going to turn this one green. And then I also need to change the words to verb. All right, now I'm going to group this again so it's one thing. So this moves all together as one. This one moves all together as one, but I need to make them infinite cloners. So remember how I said when you click on anything, the drop-down list gives you options, and one of the options is infinite cloner. I can turn that into an infinite cloner, and now this one into an infinite cloner. And now I have an infinite number of them. Okay?
So instead of on the last one, they just were dragging those words. Now they have that stack.
Yes, it works really well with different manipulatives because remember ever counting counters out before? It's not fun. This is much easier. All right, and then I just add the rest of my words. All right, and I had 3 pages that were very similar. So one of the last tricks I want to show you is inside of Notebook, I can duplicate a whole page. So I went over to the page view over here. You click on the top menu on the left. Go down to page view. Got to find the one I was just building. There it is. And there's a drop down menu from the page. So if I click on an item, it tells me what options I have from the item. Now I've clicked on a page and I can clone the page. There's another page. And then, so there's 2 pages exactly the same. And now I don't have to recreate these manipulatives. I have them there already. So then all I'm going to do is change the words. And now if I knew ahead of time, I probably wouldn't have locked the top one so that I could add more or so I don't have to edit it, but at least I don't have to create all those other stuff.
Yeah, you have the best tricks. So like now you'd have that page, like parallels of that page for like modeling, guided, and independent, just really quickly made so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons I use Notebook most of the time is because once you get those tips and tricks, it is so quick to be using these things. And if I know I'm going to use this a whole bunch of times, I'm going to add it to my gallery and keep right on going. So it really does go together like peanut butter and jelly. All right, so those are some easy ways to create the pages. And now we just want to change it into SLSO so we can use it. So there are 2 distinct ways you can do this. And Beth, correct me if I say something incorrectly, but I got to stop sharing my screen and go back to my drive. All right, so there are 2 distinct ways that you can turn this into an SLSO document. The first way is if you're a Google user, I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and here is the file that I started with today that we're going to give you a copy of if you would like to take it away and work on it. But when I'm inside my Google Drive, I simply right-click on it. If you're a PC person, you right-click. If you're a Mac person, you can control-click. Some people who have trouble clicking, I click once, and you get these 3 dots right here. It wasn't there. Look. Click once, 3 dots. Open with Smart Learning Suite. That might be an easier way for some people to find it, but literally any of those ways will convert that document into my SLSO document. And SLSO is where I'm going to change stuff into handouts and into workspaces. So I'm creating in Notebook. SLSO is where I kind of decide if it's, I'm going to make it into a small group workspace or I'm going to make it into a handout. And one of the things I absolutely love about SLSO is the fact that one page can be a handout, another page can be a small group workspace, and then another page can be just for me that has teacher stuff, and you guys just have to watch. So I can make it every page has something different in the property settings. Wow. So once it comes up, and it's coming, but I'm going to show there it comes. I'm going to show what I do to change it into a workspace. So it automatically comes in as a into editing mode. You'll notice it's in editing mode because you have the blue up here. But as I scroll down here, this is the one, let's say I wanted to make it into a small group workspace. So I just click convert and I get options of workspace. That is, I can have everybody together on one page or small groups. or I can make it a handout and everybody gets thrown. For this activity, I made it a workspace. And so usually what I do up here is I rename it Workspace Venn Diagram, so that when I get to it, when I'm presenting, I know what it is. And the same thing for the handouts down here. I simply scrolled down, converted it into a handout. And now I have a handout for every single kid. And again, I may want to change up here so that when I'm presenting this, I know exactly what it is when I get to it. I'm all done with that part, Beth. I just hit finish editing, and now I'm ready to go with my kids. It'll give me the exact copy. I'm going to look at the one page we changed just so you can see it. So this is what I see, and that's why I added the Venn diagram, because when I get to it as a teacher, I know exactly what it means. And then I just hit set up because I can't do this part ahead of time. The handout, everybody gets one. That's good. But the setup means I have to decide how many groups. So when I click on this, it's going to say how many groups or everybody on one team, and that's how I set it up. The last thing I need to show, if I'm not mistaken, but Beth's going to keep me track, if you are not a Google district, you need to go to suite.smarttech.com. You're going to get the same type of things. But what you're going to do right here is you're going to add an activity. So when I click add an activity, I can then import that resource from wherever it sits onto my desktop, and it will do the same thing. So here is the peanut butter and jelly presentation on my desktop right here. I just click, and it's going to do the same conversion that I just did on the last one. So I can import either way that I want to, depending on which type of systems I'm using.
A super easy way for all users.
That's correct. Beth, did I miss anything?
No, I think we're all caught up in the chat. You just covered so many tricks.
I'm glad. Well, thank you all very much for coming. And please do come back for the rest of the series. I believe Beth is going to be dropping in the chat some different things.
So right now I'm putting a link to all the resources that we have for you, talking about how to make your smart shift. You will have access to, if you're a Google user or not, some step-by-step guides for using Smart Learning Suite Online. And some other goodies we have in that in a nice challenge page for you, full of links. Super awesome presentation, Terry. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. We would love to have you back for another webinar, and love to know your thoughts on today's webinar. So I'm placing that link in the chat right now. That's going to ask you just a few quick questions, and then link you to that PD certificate for you for participating today. So that's in the chat, that quick survey. It looks like Terry has a challenge for us.
I do. I will challenge you to create a 3-page smart lesson and then try from notebook and then try to upload it into SLSO. You don't have to try all the different pages I did today. Try any pages that work for you and give you a little bit of a challenge. The other one I wanted to point out to you, I forgot, is that the resource guide is in there. All of these are clickable, and they will give you some great places to go back to, or some ideas for what to do, or step-by-step directions. And finally, if you are using Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, please give a shout out. Let us know what you're using so that we can see what's going on. All right. Thank you all very much for attending.
All right. That's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us, and have a really great back to school season, everyone.